was laughing when I killed my mother.
Why'd you get rid of that shirt?
It had pieces of my mother's brain stuck to it. I killed Josh with a sledgehammer, too.
This is 15-year-old Zachary Davis. He's just been brought in for questioning after a fire was discovered at his house. Initially, the tragedy appeared to be nothing more than an unfortunate accident. That is, until a body was discovered inside the home. Even more horrifying was the fact that the victim, Zachary's mother, hadn't been killed by the flames, but by a sledgehammer before the fire was even started. In about 3 seconds, you'll see Zachary crack, but not in the way anyone expected.
It looks kind of evil when you do that, I'm gonna have to say. I think you know you're doing it.
In this never-before-seen interrogation footage, Zachary is brutally honest as he details his crime, and yet his astonishing motive leaves investigators wondering how much of this chilling tale is the result of a disturbed mind or a series of cleverly concocted lies. In the early hours of August 10, 2012, emergency services were called to a house fire in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Inside the burning home, firefighters discovered the body of Melanie Davis lying on her bed, covered in blood and brutally disfigured. The single mom of 2 teenage boys worked as a paralegal and trained as a triathlete. Outside the home, one of her sons, 17-year-old Joshua Davis, waited with the police, but his younger brother, Zachary, was nowhere to be found. 4 hours later, and around 5 miles from the home, police spotted 15-year-old Zachary Davis as he walked alone down a road, attempting to leave town. He was subsequently picked up and brought to the Summer Country Sheriff's Office for questioning. His interview is just the beginning of a truly disturbing case, filled with shocking allegations and a series of twisted lies.
This is the Sheriff's Office, and what we'd like to do is talk to you about there's always something happened at your house, and that's what we kind of like to talk to you about right now. You've probably seen some cop shows and stuff, right? You've seen police shows and things like that. You do have rights and stuff, and so before asking questions, you must understand your rights. You want to go ahead and talk to us about what happened tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you do, just Zach, what I want to do is make sure you understand that this is a waiver, right, saying you're waiving your rights. What I'd like to do is make sure you can read and write. If you would, read that last paragraph out loud.
I have read this statement of my rights and understand what my rights are.
With his confirmation that he's waiving his rights, the interview gets underway.
You've never been in any trouble, have you?
No, sir.
So, no trouble in school, nothing like that?
No, sir.
One of the obvious unusual characteristics about Zachary is his lack of expression of emotion or emotional detachment. His monotone voice and flat facial expression are indications of a person who is either guarded and is consciously avoiding any show of emotion, or a person who struggles to express emotion because of some other issue, such as a psychotic disorder like schizophrenia, or a developmental disorder like autism spectrum disorder. Though he doesn't offer up a lot of information himself, the investigators have researched Zachary's family and began asking him about his past to get him comfortable with talking to them.
I understand that your father had passed away.
Yes, sir.
How did he pass away?
He died from Garrett's disease.
Pretty rough on you, wasn't it?
No, sir.
It didn't bother you?
No, sir.
I was told that it bothered you. That you were upset about your dad. Is that not true?
No, sir.
So it is true?
No, sir.
Okay.
In 2007, the Davis family faced their first tragedy, but certainly not their last. The 2 boys lost their father, Chris, to amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, also known as ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. Losing a parent is traumatic for any child, but despite his denials, his father's death impacted Zachary even more severely than most, and with consequences that would unfold years later. According to family, Zachary was already a quiet kid, but at only 9 years old when his father died, he became even more withdrawn. Following the tragedy, the family, now just Melanie and her 2 sons, moved to Sumner County, and though this was meant to be a fresh start, things would only get worse for them once there. At 11, Zachary began to display strange behavior, though it isn't clear exactly what, but Melanie grew concerned enough to seek medical help for her son.
Have you ever had to see a doctor for anything as far as having problems with thinking about things or anything?
I saw a therapist shortly after that wasn't a very long direction of time.
What was that about? Who wanted to see a therapist?
My mother.
She did. Okay, so it was just a couple times is all you saw. How long ago was that?
A year that we moved here.
You remember what year that was?
2008, I think.
What were the reasons that your mama wanted you to go there?
She never told me.
Zachary was diagnosed with a depressive disorder, but that was just the beginning. He also told doctors that he was hearing voices, including the voice of his deceased father, and he was soon diagnosed with psychosis. However, at some point, his mother stopped his mental health treatment, but it's unknown exactly why. While psychosis itself is not a clinical disorder, it is a symptom that is often associated with schizophrenia. Onset of schizophrenia in children is very rare, but still possible. Other causes of hearing voices during childhood could include depression, an anxiety disorder, and/or experiencing a traumatic event, such as the death of a parent. Despite Zachary telling investigators he wasn't seeing anyone for help, the calendar on his phone showed that he had at least one meeting with the guidance counselor at his school, Ms. Higgs, indicating that perhaps someone realized something was wrong, though no one could have guessed the true extent of just how disturbed he was.
Something went on at your house today, and I just kind of like you to kind of tell us what happened.
I killed my mom in her sleep with a sledgehammer.
Is there a reason why you did that?
Yes, sir.
Well, can you tell me why?
No, sir.
You can't tell me why?
No, sir.
Is it a reason you don't know why you did it, or you just don't want to tell?
I do know why I did it. It's in MANTU.
Okay. You do know why you did it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you set the house on fire too?
I tried to. I don't know if it actually got the whole house on fire, though.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, it did down there a little bit, I think, but not bad or anything. Have you been having problems with your mom?
No, sir.
Unlike most crimes, it's all too clear that Zachary is the killer, but though he states freely that he killed his mother, this story will change eventually. Hauntingly, recovered text messages between Zachary and his mom seem to indicate that they had a seemingly ordinary, even loving relationship. In one, Zachary wrote to his mother, "Sorry, I was asleep," with a heart emoji. Another, this one from Melanie to Zachary, reads, "Love you, tried to talk to you before we left, but your door was locked." Through these texts, the family appeared to be perfectly normal, but that couldn't be further from the truth.
We found a book on a notepad that was on you. It said some things in there. Is that notepad yours that we found? It talks about your mom and about.
Yes, sir.
And that's what's so important about this. I mean, we want to understand what, like I said, you don't have to tell us if you don't want to, but we want to understand, what happened. I mean, that's important. I know it could be kind of scary to talk about, but.
Would you feel more comfortable if there were just one person in the room?
I don't mind having two people here.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
And like I said, like I told you in your rights, you don't have to tell us if you don't want to. It's very important, though, that, something like this that happens, there's usually a reason for it. And, that's what we want to know, is the reason. This is your time to tell us, why that happened.
I'd rather not, sir.
Okay.
The text messages from the day before he killed his mom show them planning to go to a movie. Melanie first wrote, Hey, sweetie, I just took Josh to the orthodontist. We'll be back hopefully soon. Then later, we can see Born or Campaign today. I want to see both. And, sounds good, Josh is back in, but we may need to pick him up at Ryan's house. The last message she sent before her death was to Zachary and reads only, okay, with a heart. It's eerily clear that Melanie had no idea what Zachary was planning, or that she would meet such a horrific end just hours after attending a movie with her 2 sons. Zachary's brother Josh has also been brought to the police station to speak with police. He was asked to recount his day before the fire was set. He told them that he had gone to the orthodontist with his mother before returning home. His answer also reveals a bit about his relationship with his brother.
What's Zach doing when you get home?
I think she's playing Xbox. We kind of, we kind of keep to ourselves, I guess.
Okay, so you and Zach don't have a good relationship?
Well, no, we do. It's just like I don't know, like he just kind of, stays to himself. He's kind of a quiet person, I guess.
Have you been having any problems? I mean,
he's always been kind of like quiet, I guess odd.
Josh seems hesitant to talk about his brother, and although he's giving limited information, the descriptive words such as quiet and odd may indicate that Zachary was showing signs of mental health issues. What's also strange here is Josh's apparent lack of visible concern, given what just happened to his mother. The average son or family member would be hysterical and wondering, or at least theorizing, about what could have prompted Zachary to commit such a horrific act. However, there's a chance he's in shock, as this all just occurred a few hours earlier.
What kind of person is your brother?
Your typical male teenager.
Typical male teenager. You two get along pretty good?
Sometimes.
Despite this claim, texts between the brothers show that they messaged fairly often, talking about how their school year was delayed, video games, and how Zachary wanted to spend his birthday alone, with Josh writing to him, "If you don't want Ryan to come over, I can tell him not to. I want you to have your birthday the way you want it, and I especially want you to be happy on your birthday." In one more recent message, Josh even apologizes for arguing with Zachary. The brothers often used heart emojis in their messages, frequently saying "I love you" to each other. From the outside, it's difficult to imagine such a horrific tragedy occurring in this family, but only because Zachary has yet to reveal his motive to investigators.
When you talk to people on the phone, who do you talk to? I mean, do you have friends you chat with or anything like that?
No, sir. I usually only talk to my mother and my brother and my home.
So you don't have any friends other than your mother and your brother that you talk to?
No, sir.
Zachary may not have had many friends outside of his family, but a note in his phone indicated that there was a teacher who he was close to. The note reads, "Thursday, March 29th, 2012. I saw Mr. Voss at school today. From the way he looked at me, I could tell he hated me. I didn't know what to say to him, so I just kept walking. I really hope I can repair our friendship before I leave Tennessee. He's the only person I've met that has sincerely cared about me. Hell, he's like a father to me. I don't know what I did to cause this, but I hope it can be forgiven. Mr. Voss is also the only true friend I've ever had." This note depicts a very different person from the emotionally detached teen we're seeing in this interrogation. His note shows indications of emotion, of caring what another person thinks of him, and of caring about another person, his teacher. The note indicates that Zachary may be lonely, and that he may not be able to connect with kids his age if he names a teacher as his friend. In his interview, Josh tells the detectives that when the movie ended around 8 p.m., the family went directly home.
You didn't see anything tonight that was any different than the way he normally acts?
I mean, no.
It's surprising that Zachary was not either acting differently from his typical behavior just prior to murdering his mother, or at least showing a change in his behavior recently. The level of aggression that he inflicted on his mother when he killed her, and the simple fact that he went through with murdering her, are behaviors that occur when a person has snapped or has reached an emotional breakdown. Josh then recounts going into his mother's room to talk to her just a few hours before Zachary killed her.
I went and talked to my mom for a little while, and then
Remember about what time that was?
that was right around 9, probably. That was right when I said goodnight. She went to sleep, and then I went upstairs and was in my room.
So you talked to her for a few minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
She was working out when I went in there, so I worked out with her for a minute.
What was she doing when you said she was working out? What was she working out?
Like, sleeping and stuff.
Despite describing what were his last moments with his mother, Josh still shows very little, if any, emotion.
When you get home and your mom goes to bed at 9, where are you and what are you doing in the house? Are you in the house?
I was in my room already planning everything.
You were in your bedroom or in the room where the fire was started?
The room where the fire was started.
What do you call that room?
What do you call it? Game room.
Game room? So you're in the game room planning everything?
Yes, sir.
All right. And how long does it take you to plan that?
Only a few minutes, but I waited for several hours to make sure everybody in the house was asleep.
How did you make sure they were asleep?
I just waited and then checked on them.
Just checked on them, opened the door and looked at them?
Yes, sir. I killed her at around 11 p.m., I think. And I think she went to sleep at around 9 o'clock.
Okay. When you killed her, what about your brother lives there with you too, right? That's the only person lives with you?
Yes, sir.
Did you do anything to him?
No, sir. I was kind of expecting the fire to kill him.
Oh, you were? Okay.
That's right. Zachary didn't just set the fire in an attempt to destroy the evidence of him killing his mother, but also in the hopes that his brother would be killed by the flames. As well, to ensure Melanie's death, after hitting her with the sledgehammer, Zachary locked the door behind him to prevent Josh from going in and potentially helping her.
And then I woke up around, I'm not sure what time it is, time of the thing was going off. And, at first I didn't know what it was. I thought it was like a sound in my room. And I figured I was a fire alarm. I was running around and I was looking for my brother upstairs in his room. He wasn't in there and I saw the fire was started in there. So I ran downstairs to get my mom and the door was locked. So I had to kick the door in to get in there. And then I saw her on the bed.
What did you do then?
I just went outside the house and called 911 and went and got my neighbor's market shot.
Where'd you get the sledgehammer at?
My garage.
Okay, and what about, how did you try and set the fire?
First I tried to drag the lawnmower upstairs and empty the fuel tank in the room, but I couldn't do that, so I just poured a bottle of whiskey on the floor and left it on fire.
A bottle of whiskey?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was that before or after you hit your mom?
After.
After, okay. How many times did you hit her with the sledgehammer?
I don't know.
I mean, any estimation?
I'd say at least 12.
12 times. Where did you hit her at on her body?
Around the head area.
Okay, was she sleeping at the time or?
Yes, sir.
Okay, did she wake up and say anything to you?
No, sir. I put my fingers on her neck to check her pulse and make sure she was dead.
Did you touch her anywhere else?
No, sir.
Have you thought about touching her anywhere else?
No, sir.
Josh was asked the same question, likely to determine if his story will match the forensic evidence found on Melanie's body.
When you went in the bedroom, at any time did you touch your mom?
Yeah, Summer County.
When you went in that room?
No, I don't think so. Like, I kind of, no.
He witnessed the altercation?
Like, I ran in and because then I saw her. That freaked me out.
When you left, what were your plans at that point?
I hadn't thought that right.
Oh, yeah. When did you think about doing this? I mean, when did this pop into your head as far as killing your mom?
Several years ago.
Had you told anybody about it?
No, sir.
So, with this, I mean, thinking about this, was your mom just bad to you, or
No, sir.
a pretty good mom? Was she a pretty good mom, or?
She wasn't very good mom. No, she wasn't very good. I don't know.
Refusing to classify her as either a good or a bad mom and sounding apathetic regarding his relationship with her could indicate that he was unable to form a true emotional connection with her or anyone else. Because of his willingness to answer most of the investigators' questions, except for his all-important motive, they ask him a series of questions to get as much information as possible.
He mentioned a note that has been found. When did you have a chance to write that?
While I was waiting and after I did it.
So you did the whole note, there's like two and a half pages, you did it all tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So you did some before you killed your mother and some after?
Yes, sir.
When did you write the last part? About what time did you write the last part?
I don't know, sometime around 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., I think.
Okay, while you were out walking and stuff?
Yes, sir.
Was it before you bought the Pepsi at the Thorntons?
Yes, sir.
You had your phone with you for a while. Did you call anybody on your phone?
No, sir.
Okay, what'd you do with your phone?
I didn't do anything with it. I didn't even realize it was in the pocket until I left Thornton's.
So where's it at now?
I threw it in a ditch.
Why'd you throw it away?
I assumed that I could be tracked for it.
Okay. What was your plans as far, I mean, you didn't have any plans on where you're heading to, or how, evidently you were trying to escape and trying to get away from police. You don't remember where you're trying to go to?
No, sir.
You had a backpack, so you had stuff. You were just going to walk and just try and get out of the area?
Yes, sir.
Chillingly, after killing his mom and fleeing the house, Zachary went to a convenience store to buy a Pepsi before he began walking in an attempt to escape from police. Though he had made an elaborate plan, it doesn't appear that he thought ahead to what he would do after. According to unverified rumors online from people claiming to live in Sumner County, after setting the fire, Zachary ran non-stop for almost 5 miles, with no destination in mind. Ironically, a note on his phone written 7 months earlier on January 22, 2012, indicates that he had thought about his escape, or at least criminals escaping police detection more broadly. The note states, "After reading dozens of news reports about killers, I believe I found several consistent reasons why most killers are caught within a year. They rely too much on civilization. Most killers hide out in heavily populated areas or easily accessible areas. They don't migrate to other areas after several kills in a row. This makes the police in their area more alert and the citizens more cautious. Most rely too much on firearms or other weapons that produce loud noises. This will attract unwanted attention to their location." This sort of obsession with murder and serial killers can occur among people with severe mental illness. The fixation doesn't necessarily have to be with murder and serial killers, but it just so happened to be the case with Zachary. These individuals may often struggle with low self-esteem and therefore derive a sense of feeling powerful when they identify with bad guys like serial killers. Zachary may have felt tough and strong by learning the strategies of killers and thinking he could emulate them. Maybe this gave him a sense of identity, believing that he could not only be a killer too, but become a smarter killer by not making the same mistakes as the criminals he studied. Still, there was other evidence of Zachary's plan falling apart, such as the knife investigators found abandoned at the scene.
So why is the knife outside?
I was trying to put it into my backpack, and then the fire alarm started, and I just ran home.
What were you going to use that knife for?
Same thing I used the sledgehammer for.
Who were you going to use the knife on?
No specific person.
Were you looking to kill someone else tonight?
Only if they got in my way.
What do you mean by that?
If they tried to stop me from escaping.
So the lady at Thornton's who sold you the Pepsi, she was never in any danger.
No, sir.
But the officer that arrested you could have potentially been in danger if you were of the mind.
I guess, but it would be kind of pointless considering he had a gun and I just had a knife and a hammer.
What if he didn't have a gun and he tried to stop you?
I wouldn't attack him unless I was provoked by him.
Were you provoked by your brother?
No, sir.
Were you provoked by your mother?
No, sir.
What is most troubling is that according to both Zachary and Josh, there was no indication that he had been planning any of this. In crime scene photos exclusively obtained by EWU, there appears to be a code written on what may be the handle of the sledgehammer. Police also recovered a handwritten alphabetic key to the code. The code written on the handle translates as Z Requiem. This has never been publicly confirmed, but ZED could possibly stand for Zachary's initials, Zachary Everett Davis. He may have also named the sledgehammer Requiem, which often refers to a mass for the dead. This is pure speculation and just a theory, but this coded message could potentially be evidence that Zachary may have planned the attack ahead of time.
This is kind of serious. I mean, Zach, it's kind of a serious thing to think about killing your mom. You didn't try to talk to anybody about this?
No, sir.
Why not? I mean, did this not bother you? Or?
Yes, sir.
It did bother you?
No, sir.
Oh, it did bother you? Have you ever hurt anybody before?
No, sir.
Well, I mean, how do you feel when you killed your mom?
I didn't think my
It's possible that Zachary is saying what he thinks a serial killer would say, as though he's playing a role. It's difficult to say for sure, but we know that he was affectionate toward his mother in the text messages they exchanged, and she was affectionate toward him as well. He made the same comment about not feeling anything about his father's death. It's possible that it's easier for Zachary to cut off all emotion than to feel the pain of grief and loss. On the other hand, his complete detachment from his mom may be the result of a personality disorder, such as schizoid personality disorder. In this disorder, the individual does not want to have any close relationships, even with family members. They prefer to be alone and appear to be cold and have a flattened affect, as Zachary does.
Did y'all have any, was there any problems between you and him, or him and your mom, or did they have any disagreements, or, was there anything?
Like, I think they would argue.
Other than normal parents.
Not that I know of.
And yet, Zachary had savagely attacked his mother while she slept.
What did you do with the sledgehammer after you hit her with it?
I just laid it in the laundry room.
Why did you hit her about 12 times with it? Why so many times?
To make sure she was dead.
The officer asks Zachary to demonstrate how he swung the sledgehammer to kill his mother.
Kind of like that, basically.
So you right-handed?
Yes, sir.
Stand back up. Is that blood on your pants right there? In the front, right where your crotch is.
Oh, no, that's dirty.
Did you change clothes?
This is blood, though.
Oh, okay. And is that your mother's blood?
Yes, sir.
Those the same shoes you were wearing?
Yes, sir.
Those are the same pants you were wearing?
Yes, sir.
That's the same shirt you were wearing?
No, sir.
Where's the shirt you were wearing?
I threw it away.
Why'd you get rid of that shirt?
It had pieces of my mother's brain stuck to it.
Still trying to understand why Zachary had killed his mother in such a brutal way, the officer asks him to recount his day before the attack. It was then that detectives noticed something interesting. Zachary told them that he started his day by reading a book, Misery by Stephen King.
In the Misery book, one of the characters uses a sledgehammer. Am I correct in that?
Yes, sir.
Actually, the detectives have this wrong. In the book Misery, the main character uses an axe, while in the movie adaptation, she uses a sledgehammer.
Are you sure you didn't get any of your thought process from from that book?
Yes, sir.
So, do you think, so you're saying that's strictly coincidence?
Yes, sir.
So you didn't draw any kind of thought process from the book Misery as to how you killed your mother?
No, sir.
Zach, we've been doing this a long time, and I mean, sledgehammer is a very unusual weapon to kill somebody with. So that's why he and I are asking that question, why a sledgehammer?
I ordered used to knife, but I was worried that I missed the vital area.
Did you have any other type of weapons in the house that you thought about using?
Something about using a claw hammer.
A claw hammer?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you don't remember feeling anything? Did you cry?
No, sir.
Were you screaming when you were hitting her?
No, sir.
Did you say anything to her before you hit her?
No, sir.
Did you love your mother?
Somewhat.
When you say somewhat, I mean, is there anything she's ever did to you that you hate her for?
No, sir.
Though Zachary denies that the book inspired his weapon of choice, possibly because he wants to take all the credit himself, his internet history indicates that murder and death was something he'd been thinking about for a long time. He had 2 particularly strange apps downloaded on his phone, including one about serial killers and another about torture devices. As well, among the more mundane video game cheat codes and jokes, he had a copious amount of gory images. Zachary had also bookmarked a few bizarre websites, including articles about the murder of Junko Furuta, Catherine Murch, who took her own life after killing her kids, the Louisville chainsaw murder, a cult leader on trial in Ohio for killing a family of 5, and an X-Acto knife double homicide. He also had a particular obsession with the killer Nevada Tan, also known as the Sasebo slashing, where an 11-year-old murdered another schoolgirl, 12-year-old Satomi Midorai. Perhaps most tellingly, Zachary had also bookmarked an article titled Understanding Schizophrenia from helpguide.org. It's possible that he may have been trying to figure out why he was experiencing certain symptoms. Although Zachary may have some sort of severe mental illness, maybe even psychosis, as he's sitting in the interrogation room answering questions, he appears more like a cold-blooded murderer than a person suffering from psychosis. But this wasn't all. Zachary made notes on his phone that give unique insight into his twisted state of mind leading up to the killing. One says simply, Samantha Marshall, female, possible victim of rape. Another says, hanging over the masses like a shadow or a dark cloud, executing them all one by one without a sound. Omnipresent and biding its time, ready to steal you away at your prime. Welcoming to the stupid and the bold, not following any pattern, just doing as told. Laying to rest kings, queens, peasants, and thrall, death will eventually punish us all.
So you can rewind the clock and go back. What would you do?
I would probably kill Josh with a sledgehammer too.
In stark contrast to Zachary's statement, When Josh was brought in for a second interview, the detective asks him about an incident that occurred at school, showing that the brothers saw their relationship with each other completely differently.
But when you got in trouble at school, I think it was last year, what happened to cause that when you got in a fight? Somebody said they were picking on Zach.
Oh, no, that was 8th grade.
Oh, was it 8th grade?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Middle school, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What happened to cause, what were they doing?
He was like like a piece of paper, like, you know, you roll up a thing of paper.
Mm-hmm.
He was just kind of hitting him like that.
Hitting Zach with it?
Yeah, and I told the kid to stop, and he went up there and did it again. So,
okay. And what was Zach's take on that?
I
mean, was he mad that the guy was hitting him, or was he just indifferent, or did he ask you to do something about it? Or
no, he didn't ask me to do anything.
Okay. Just taking up for little brother.
It's possible that Zachary resented that his brother stepped in to be the hero. He may have been frustrated that he couldn't protect himself and instead had to be saved by Josh.
Do you still want to kill Josh?
Yes.
And you're not going to tell me why?
No, sir.
I'm really curious as to why. I mean, you said that he was the only confidant you had. You didn't talk to anybody else. Why would you want to get rid of the only person that you confide in and talk to?
I don't know.
Well, you said you don't want to tell me, so you do know. There's a difference in wanting to tell me and not knowing. You just told me you didn't want to tell me, so you do know why you want to kill your brother and you killed your mother. I would just like for you to share that with me.
I'd rather not, sir.
But you will admit that you know why you did it.
Yes, sir.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you always talk like you're talking to us now?
Yes, sir.
So if I talk to someone that knows you or a teacher, they're going to say, this is your demeanor. This is how you talk.
Most likely.
And so you're always monotone and robotic when you talk.
Yes, sir.
Unnerved by Zachary's behavior during his interrogation, detectives asked Josh the same question.
Has he always been talking that monotone voice?
like quiet.
He's kind of quiet, and his voice don't go up or down. It's just like a flat monotone voice. Is that the way he normally talk all the way? When did he start talking that way?
It's always been the way I remember it.
Really?
Yeah.
You ever laugh?
Sometimes.
What makes you laugh?
Various things.
Various things.
Give me an example.
Well, I was laughing my ass off when I killed my mother.
You were what?
I was laughing when I killed my mother.
You were laughing? Why were you laughing?
I don't know.
Were you laughing your ass off at that time?
Yes, sir.
Paradoxical laughter often occurs among people with schizophrenia. They may laugh either to themselves, often in response to a hallucination, or they may laugh in serious situations. However, throughout the interrogation, he has not laughed inappropriately at all. It's possible that Zachary once again is trying to present himself as the evil villain he may identify with. Whether Zachary is as void of emotion as he's trying to portray is unknown. His note entries on his phone, which show expressions of emotion, puts into question this image of himself that he's trying to show in interrogation.
Why were you laughing your ass off when you killed your mother?
I don't know.
Yes, you do. We went over this a while ago. You know why that you wanted to kill your mom. You just don't want to tell me.
No, I actually don't know why I was laughing.
Well, was it a sense of accomplishment?
No, sir.
Do you laugh when you read the horror books?
No, sir.
Did you laugh today or yesterday when you read Misery?
No, sir.
Do you see do you see why it would be difficult for me to understand why that would be funny?
Yes, sir.
A lot of people said it's just highly unusual for a 15-year-old to take a sledgehammer and be laughing his ass off and hit her in the head with it 12 times. What do you think?
I don't have any new information to give to you.
You can't think of any reason whatsoever?
No, sir.
With still no indication why he killed his mother in such a brutal way, the detective attempts to figure out if there were any issues in the family that may have motivated Zachary. In response to the detective's continued questioning, Zachary makes a shocking allegation against a family member, claiming that they assaulted him years earlier. This has never been proven to be true, and there is no evidence to back up any of Zachary's allegations.
What did he do to you?
We arrived in Tennessee.
How long ago was that how long you been in Tennessee?
Since 2008, I think, or 2007. I don't really remember the exact day I moved here.
Did you tell your mom about it?
Yes, sir.
What'd she do?
She didn't believe me.
Didn't believe you? Did he look at you after that?
No, sir.
Just that one time is when he did it?
Yes, sir.
And
How old would you have been then? Did you hold any ill will towards him for that?
Yes, sir.
And the conversation you had with your mother about that, can you tell us about that?
She thought it was my imagination.
Did she ever talk to him?
Not that I know of.
Did he never mentioned anything?
No, sir.
Why did he stop doing it?
I stopped bathing after that.
You stopped bathing,
Yes, sir.
and he stopped, and that made him stop?
Yes, sir.
when you mean stop bathing, you mean you stop taking baths and showers altogether?
Yes, sir.
So how did you clean yourself?
I didn't.
You haven't cleaned yourself since 2008?
I have inconsistent intervals, but it's not very common.
Okay.
The detectives have referred to a notebook they found at the house, which miraculously survived the fire. Within, they found 2 notes written by Zachary. I was raped by him that day, and I've been planning to kill him ever since. The second entry, a confession, is believed to be written right after he killed his mother. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel remorse. My only true regret was that I didn't give her a faster death. I didn't want her to suffer. It's possible that Zachary's belief about being assaulted was actually a delusion. Individuals diagnosed with schizophrenia may experience delusions, which are strongly held beliefs that are unfounded.
There's always a reason. There's always a story. And just because it's your story and we're sitting here today doesn't make it any less important to us. It's important to us to find out what the truth is. We would like to deal with that, but we want to hear your side of it. We want to know what happened. Why did, that obviously upset you. But your mom didn't do anything. You know why it took this long for you to act out?
No, sir.
They just boiled and boiled and boiled? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Would there have been any certain thing tonight that would have set that off? I mean, made you think about doing this? I mean, anything particular that happened of all nights, since 2008, it's 2012 now, of all nights since then that you would have did this?
No, sir.
As the interview begins to draw to a close, the detectives ask Zachary a few last questions.
What do you think what should happen if somebody did what you did?
I don't know.
I mean,
I guess whatever's necessary.
whatever's necessary, but I mean, what do you feel? I mean, what do you feel? I mean, if somebody was to do this to you, what should happen to them?
I don't think it would really matter. Because if you give them the death sentence, they'll die, and if you give them a life sentence, they'll die in prison anyway. So in the end, it doesn't really matter.
So, did you think about the consequences when you did this? What could happen to you?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me about that?
No, sir.
Why not?
I'd rather not say.
I mean, I'm talking about, do you think if you get caught by the police, and do you think that was a possibility?
Yes, sir.
And if you got caught by the police, what do you think would happen to you?
Well, since I only killed one person, I shouldn't have got the life sentence. But I don't know how it works here.
The officer had just one last question for Zachary, and this one, oddly, results in the most animated reaction that they've seen from him. But his unsettling response isn't at all what you might expect from someone in this situation.
Do you always look at people through your eyebrows?
I don't know.
You've been doing it all morning. Do you do that? Is that a habit, or is that something that you're just starting to do?
I guess it's a habit. I've never really noticed.
You never really noticed?
No, sir.
Nobody's ever said anything to you about it?
No, sir.
Why'd you giggle?
It's just...
I mean, you don't know that you do that right there?
No, sir.
Okay. I'm not picking on you, I'm just... It looks kind of evil when you do that, I'm gonna have to say. I think you know you're doing it. And you're smiling about it, so I think you're pretty aware of what you're doing.
No, I didn't realize I was doing it.
Yeah, you did.
Given what we know about Zachary's obsession with murder and serial killers, it's likely that being called evil is a compliment. This again shows that he might identify with some sort of evil character or villain. If Zachary's monotone voice and eerie eyebrow stare are all an act, it's impressive because he was able to keep up the act and not break character throughout the whole interrogation. Following his interrogation, Zachary was evaluated by psychologists and mental health experts. One stated they believed that at the time of the killing, Zachary didn't have the mental capacity to meet the legal definition of premeditation, and that his mental illness affected his ability to use reflection and judgment. In fact, the psychologist said that at the time of the crime, his thoughts were driven by psychosis. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia and a depressive disorder. Changing his story from what he initially said to investigators, Zachary told one doctor that he had heard his deceased father speaking to him and that he had allegedly urged him to kill his mother. Still, investigators pointed out that he had fled the house with bags he had already packed, ditched his phone, and told police that he'd been thinking about killing his mother for years, all demonstrating that he planned the crime. Zachary eventually appeared on the Dr. Phil show, where he gave yet another reason for killing his mother, this time changing his story completely and claiming that he did it because, quote, "she wasn't taking care of my family." But still, in this interview, he maintains that he was the one who killed her. However, he would shock everyone, including his own legal defense, when in court he once again told a completely altered story, naming a different killer. During his trial, Josh sat directly behind Zachary, but the brothers never spoke. When Zachary took the witness stand, he changed the story he had been telling for 2.5 years and stated, quote, "I didn't do it." He suddenly blamed the entire crime on Josh, claiming that he was the one who used the sledgehammer to kill their mother and that he just took the fall, making him innocent. Following this, Zachary's attorney attempted to declare him mentally incompetent and for the case to be deemed a mistrial. Furthering the drama, after his lunch break, the attorney asked to be dismissed from the case, but was denied. The judge speculated that he wasn't sure if Zachary was the ultimate con man or manipulator or not, but that was the jury's job to figure out. Despite his last-ditch attempt to blame Josh, Zachary Davis was convicted of the first-degree murder of his mother, attempted first-degree murder of his brother, and aggravated arson. He was sentenced to 71 years in prison with eligibility for parole after 51 years. To this day, there is speculation that Zachary may have had aspirations to become a serial killer.